What's up, good people? Let me know that you can hear me by typing justice for Dre or justice for Andre in the chat, and we will be back after our intro. All right, we are back. We are back. We are back. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. I'm like, what day is the week? Hello to everyone who is letting me know that you can hear me by saying justice for Dre. We got Shaniqua, Precious, Nicole Driver, Mocha, Purposeful Creation, Shanice, Precious. Well, I said Precious. And I know we got Alice Blessed Child of God in the background helping us out with the backstage moderation. Greatly appreciated, friend. And so we are back with another edition of the Tim Norman, the USA versus Tim Norman transcript reenactment. We are still on day 2. I think we've done 15 episodes and we're still on day now. We've done quite a few, probably what, six episodes or so. And we are on day 2D, day 2, part D. We are still working with the insurance companies, and we're learning the tricks and stunts that Tim Norman tried to pull in order to get one of the, I think it was 5 insurance policies that he applied for. Only one ended up sticking that we know about. Well, I'm saying we now know that one stuck, which was the Forrester's insurance policy. But we get to hear what happened with all the other insurance policies and all of those sort of things. So tonight we're going to get right into it as we normally do. Thank you to the 100% of you who are. That's really a lie. I'm looking at the number of viewers versus the number of people who voted. So 50% of you have actually hit that like button. If the other 50% of you can hit that like button as soon as you can, it would be greatly appreciated. It goes a long way to help this video, but also help this channel grow. And we definitely have some very interesting things coming our way on this channel. This channel is being revived in 2024, and we'll have new content other than just this trial reenactment. So definitely hit that subscribe if you haven't as of yet. And a great appreciation to those who watched on the replay. The replay views were looking like they were looking on the other channel. So I'm very happy about that. So thank you. And just remember to hit that like button. Thank you in advance. So tonight, our cast that we have joining us is Margin. I don't even know the roles people are playing. We just talked about it. It's gone out of my head already. But we have Margin, we have Robert, we have Mocha Barbie, and we have Precious. I'm gonna bring everyone up. And as I bring you up, if you can announce who you will be playing tonight, the role, because we just talked about it, so y'all know. All right, so pull it up. Margin first.
Oh, sorry, I have to look to see who I'm reading.
Oh, no problem.
Uh, Sorry. I think I'm doing uh, Kathleen Hughes.
I think it was Caitlin. Yeah, Caitlin Hughes.
Caitlin. Yes,
And
Caitlin
then
Hughes. Sorry.
Robert.
Yes, and I am the judge.
All right, and then we have Mocha Barbie. Oh, Mocha, are you there?
Sorry, I had myself on mute.
Oh, okay.
Playing Miss Collins and Mrs. Adams.
All right, she got two roles, and you see, we do baptism by fire. This her second time reading, and we gave her two roles already. And Preston.
And I'm the prosecutor, Miss Carol.
All right, Miss Carol. Okay, so I'm gonna share our document. Give me a second, my brain. Oh Lord, I messed that up. Hold on, let me pull it back. I tell y'all, it's been a day. Okay, here we go.
And Bell's Mr. Winter.
Yes, and I'm Mr. Thank you so much. I did remember, I just never announced it. So I am playing Mr. Leonard, who is Tim Norman's lead defense attorney, and then Gloria Rodriguez is his co-counsel, and that is also the role that Margin plays if she comes up at any point during this particular live. Don't know for sure because I didn't read ahead. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Last week we left off right as the redirect examination was about to begin with Miss Adams. Right. And so we're going to take it from there.
Miss Adams, I'm the nice one. I just want to make sure I understand your testimony. Am I right? The only way that Tim Norman gets to apply for life insurance or Andre Montgomery is if he goes through a life insurance agent. Is that right?
Correct.
If this policy has been approved and Andre Montgomery had died, will the insurance agent have gotten the payout?
No.
Who would have?
The beneficiary.
Who was that?
Tim Norman.
No further questions.
Any other questions of the witness?
Just one, Judge.
Good grief.
You don't know whether Tim Norman knew that Wally had even sent this to your company, do you, ma'am?
I do not.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
May this witness then be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can step down and be excused, ma'am. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the government calls Nancy Collins.
If you will step up here, Ms. Collins. If you will speak into the microphone, it will help amplify your voice. There is a bottle of water there next to you on the witness stand. If you would like that, counsel, you may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Collins.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Nancy Collins.
Where do you work, Ms. Collins?
I work for Americo Life.
Wow, another insurance company. What is America Life?
Americo Life is an insurance company that does business all over the United States.
Is one of the kinds of insurance America handles life insurance?
Correct.
Are you familiar with the application for insurance for Andre Montgomery, the beneficiary of which was James Timothy Norman?
I am.
Let me show you Government's Exhibit 21, page 3, please, Ms. Collins. Is that the application we just discussed?
Correct.
Looking at the proposed insured, who is the proposed insured in this application?
Andre L. Montgomery.
And what is the phone number is listed for Mr. Montgomery? We'll skip that. And how about the address? What is the address listed? The restaurant.
4770 Manchester Boulevard, St. Louis.
There goes that sweetie pie restaurant again.
Right. That's
And
the
look at
man. That was the Mangrove location. That was the first
Wow.
restaurant that was on the show. That's that address.
the chicken place with the sweet macaroni and cheese. So looking down there, I think what is block H? How long at the current address was the application said in terms of length that Andre Montgomery had been at that address?
5 years.
And the income occupation that appears here?
The occupation is a music producer and annual salary is said to be $100,000.
That's some expensive fried chicken. Can we scroll down to section C, please? Payment information. What is that, Ms. Collins?
Well, the first figure is the face amount, which is the benefit amount of the policy, and that was $250,000.
And what does that mean? Benefit amount.
Benefit amount is the amount that would be paid in the event of a claim.
And so, what triggers a claim?
A death of the insured.
Mode premium. What does that mean?
That is the premium payment that is made for the contract of $156.04 on a monthly bank draft.
Can we please go to page 9? Ms. Collins, who is offering the paid premiums on this insurance policy?
James T. Norman.
Camel hips came up again. Wow. Okay. If we scroll down, is there a bank account listed there that Mr. Norman is offering to pay for life insurance policy?
There is
So that 156 amount we just saw, who'll be paying that?
Mr. Norman.
Can you please go to the beneficiary section, page 3, section 5? Who is the listed beneficiary on this policy?
James Timothy Norman.
Surprise, surprise. And that percentage, what's the percentage?
Oh, hold on. I lost my spot. The percentage is 100% share, meaning that Mr. Norman will get the entire benefit amount of the policy in the event of a claim.
Can we please go to page 4, section 7, policy owner, Ms. Collins? Who is the listed owner on the policy?
What does an owner do? Oh, is that me? Hold on.
16.
Oh, wait. Wait. I got my glasses on, y'all. I'm sorry. The owner of the policy was applied for James Timothy Norman.
And what does the owner do?
The owner exercised all of the rights and privileges of the contract assigned. Some beneficiary can change the beneficiary, etc.
Exercise, not those childbearing hips. But anyway, is there a phone number listed for the owner of the policy?
Yes.
Can we please go side by side with page 3, the phone numbers listed for Andre Montgomery? If America was going to try to get a hold of Andre Montgomery, would they call the number that was also listed as Tim Norman's phone number?
It is the same.
Going to page 5, the medical history, what's the height and weight listed for Mr. Montgomery in this application?
It is listed at 5'7", 165 pounds.
Can we please go to page 6, the paragraph beginning with, in accordance with state law? Ms. Collins, can you please read that to the jury?
In accordance with the state law, we must provide you with the following fraud notice. A person who is knowingly presents a false or fraudulent claim for payment of a loss or benefit, or knowingly presents false information in an application for insurance is guilty of a crime and may be subject to fines, confinement in prison.
You know what prison is. But in the paragraph begin with, we have read this application and represent to America. Could you please read the paragraph that above that signature block?
And if you would just read slow, please.
We have read the application and represent to America that the statements made on this application are true and complete and correctly recorded to the best of my or acknowledgement and belief. We agree that America can rely on these statements. We agree that the application and or a medical exam form or any supplemental application or amendment to the application will be based on policy that is issued on the application or any amendment to the application. We agree that all answers to the personal history questions on page 2 and to the history questions on page 3 of this application, signed and dated below, are complete and accurate.
Why does it matter to America whether the statements on the application are true?
Because we use this information as the basis to form the contract of insurance.
Does it matter to America whether Andre Montgomery actually reviewed this application and authorized it?
Oh, yes, yes.
Why?
When an insured has a third party owner listed as Mr. Norman was listed on this policy, we have to make sure that the applicant knew about it and and gave their permission, but the applicant also is the one that needs to verify the medical information. They are the ones who answer the questions for themselves.
Okay, does America records all of its communication with the proposed assured on policies?
Yes.
Can we please go to page 10 of Government's 21? This is very tiny text. What are we looking at here, Ms. Collins?
You're looking at a screen print of the system on this particular policy that we put notes in during the underwriting process.
Can we zoom in right there? Thank you. So tiny text, Ms. Collins. But what is the date of this particular entry?
October 15th, 2014.
And what are we looking at? What is this entry?
This is a note from the first reviewer of the application to the underwriter that says that identifies outstanding requirements.
Can you read the first outstanding requirement listed there?
The first one is to verify the insurable interest. Please advise if there is a medical reason that proposed insured cannot own his own policy.
Who's the proposed insured?
Mr. Montgomery?
Can you explain this to the jury? What does this mean?
Well, typically, insurance applications provide for the insured, who is also the owner of their own policy. They are said to have an unlimited insurable interest in their own life, but when there is a third party owner, that person must provide their interest in the life of the insured and also have the insured consent to be the owner.
Why did America have concern about the insurable interest here?
We did not see the purpose of insurance to provide for economic loss, i.e., the death of the insured. We didn't see how Mr. Norman was going to suffer any kind of economic loss with the death of Mr. Montgomery.
So basically, Camel Hips could continue to fry chicken. So can we please go down to the next note that's also dated October 15th of 14? Ms. Collins, can you please read the insured that passage there?
Per agent email, the insurer works with the uncle on his TV show Welcome to Sweetie Pies on OWN Network. There is no medical issues with the insured. The uncle wanted to be the owner so that the return of premium comes directly back to him and not Andre. It is signed willy nilly. I said willy nilly. That man.
Wael Wali.
While they are good.
Wael Wali Yagnam.
How Did America respond to that explanation that was given for James Campbell Norman and Hips trying to own Andre's life insurance policy?
Well, it is noted, but it is not significant to satisfy our particular guidelines.
Can we please go to the entry dated October 16th? What is this note, Miss Collins?
This again was a note from one of our business representatives in the file that says the uncle can be the payer of the policy but not proposed insured. And it was appreciated PI will need to be the owner of their own policy.
What does that mean? Why did the proposed insured, Andre Montgomery, need his own policy in order for this to be approved?
Because he was insurable interest in his own life, but we couldn't establish that Mr. Norman had an insurable interest in his nephew's life.
Can we please go to page 14? What is this document, Ms. Collins?
Then again, this again is the screen print of the notes that were put in the file.
Look at that first entry there. Thank you.
October 15th, a PHI required is the comment that was made.
What is a PHI?
It is a personal history statement, personal history interview, excuse me. And usually those come from the underwriter after they look at the case. And a personal history interview is with the insured. In this case, you want to make sure that he knows this policy is being written out on his life and just to verify other information on the application.
And would America have attempted to contact Andre Montgomery using that phone number that we saw listed on the application?
Yes.
Can we please look at the next entry here? You can actually just do all the way to the third attempt entry. Okay, Ms. Collins, can you just walk us through the date and a note that is being made by the underwriter here?
Sure. The first note was October 17th, 2014, and a note was said that they made a first attempt at the PHI and no answer. Excuse me. That they left a voicemail. That they left and the voicemail was full. They couldn't leave a message.
Yeah, all those messages from him going to, the strip club. And who's America trying to get a hold of when they're trying to do this personal health interview?
The proposed insured Mr. Montgomery.
And the next entry?
October 24th, 2014, PHI second attempt. Spoke with the uncle, advised a call after 3 p.m. since the PI is in school. The last entry is October 28th, 2014. PHI third attempt, no answer, left a voicemail.
At some point, did America actually speak to someone who represented themselves to be Andre Montgomery to do the interview?
They did.
Could you please go to page 20 at the top? What are we looking at here, Ms. Collins?
This is just a pre-populated cover sheet for the form, the personal history interview.
Under the please state your full name, what is listed there?
Andre Montgomery. So that would be a response from a question by, oh wait, is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
15.
Andre Montgomery. So that would be a response from a question by our interviewer. Who am I speaking to?
And would it have been all right if that person had been Mr. Norman?
No.
Who was America needing to talk to?
Mr. Montgomery.
How would America go about verifying that they were actually talking to Andre Montgomery and not someone posing as him?
We verify on the answers that are given on these documents and on the personal history interview.
Would the person that America was speaking with provide the information that I have just circled?
Yes.
And if the person who America was speaking with was able to give that data, would America proceed with the personal health interview?
Yes.
Can we please go to page 15 of Exhibit 21? At some point, did America attempt to obtain any criminal records that might have existed on Andre Montgomery?
It did.
Did America find that it could not find any record of Andre Montgomery's criminal history?
It could not. It could not find a record.
As America completed with that personal health interview with what they believed to be Andre Montgomery, what happened next with the evaluation of this policy?
Well, then the evaluation went back to the underwriter and they reviewed the information that we had and agreed that we still could not prove insurable interest. And at that time, I believe we contacted the agent and said that we would have to have change in the owner to be able to proceed with this application, keeping in mind that we were several other things that were questioned, but that was the overriding issue that we had with this app at the beginning.
They smelt the fraud. They smelt the fraud. But what other concerns did America have about this application for life insurance on Andre Montgomery?
Life insurance companies have certain guidelines and certain flags that are used after looking at thousands and thousands of applications. The fact that this was a 20-year-old who was proposed to be making $100,000 a year, but the PHI had said that he had been in school on one attempt, so that didn't make sense. The third party owner is being Mr. Norman is always a red flag. Typically, applicants own their own policy, so we always ask questions because they have to have that insurable interest. I think there is a differential on the height and weight on the application to what was given on the PHI.
So there were several things other than its overriding insurable interest that would have to have been. Oh, wait, that was you.
So there are several things other than this overriding insurable interest that we would have to have been resolved before we could have approved.
Like why you had that tight little vest on. But did Mr. Norman ever agree to change the owner of policy to Andre?
No, he did not. We gave them that opportunity and then we could have gone forward. But as soon as we asked that, he received a message that the agent wanted to withdraw the application.
So rather than have Andre Montgomery own his own policy, what happened?
We canceled the application and closed the case.
If the application had been approved, who would have gotten the payout when Andre Montgomery died?
Mr. Norman.
No further questions.
Oh,
Mr. Leonard?
Let me prepare myself.
You know it.
Ma'am, were you working for the company at the time that this application was submitted?
Yes, sir.
Did you have anything whatsoever to do with the company's decision making on this application?
Other than providing the guidelines that the underwriter used for this behavior on this app.
So you weren't doing the work to decide whether the company was going to approve the application and write the policy or not, were you?
I did not underwrite this policy.
That was someone else, not you?
Correct.
And who was that person?
One of the staff underwriters.
Who was that?
His name was Sean McCollum.
And did you talk to him about the decision making that went into his decision to ask for more information and not to proceed?
These are established guidelines with our company.
That wasn't my question. Did you ask this guy who made the decision why he made the decision?
No, it wasn't necessary.
You didn't do it, right?
No.
Okay. He's so ignorant. He's so ignorant. It's kind of fun doing him because he's so ignorant. Okay. And with regard to this application, one would have to have been an insurance agent licensed to even submit this. Is that correct?
Correct.
And your understanding was that Mr. Yagnam submitted it, right?
Correct.
Not Tim Norman, correct?
Correct.
And I think if we can put that up, okay, do you have that you in front? What do you have that in? Do you have that you in front of you again, ma'am?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And you weren't the one, of course, who was looking this over at the time and evaluating the effect of the various answers, were you?
No.
And you have sections in there that are handwritten, right?
This is the handwritten application.
Sure, sure. And your assumption was that it is Mr. Yagnam who filled out all sections, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Norman didn't fill out any of those sections, did he?
Other than the signature.
Sure. In terms of providing check boxes or answering questions, Mr. Norman did not do that, did he?
No, I would have presumed not.
You have no factual basis that he did, right, ma'am?
No.
Okay. And with regards to where Mr. Yagnam got the information, you have no basis to say that Tim Norman gave him any of that information, do you, ma'am?
At the time of the application, no.
Okay. And do you even know whether or not Andre Montgomery gave Mr. Yagnam the information
No.
or didn't?
No.
You have no way of knowing one way or another.
At the time of the application, Mr. Montgomery was proposed to be supposed to be the one answering the questions.
But that wasn't my question. You don't know whether Andre provided the information to Wally or not. Is that correct, ma'am?
No, it was just presumed that it would be that way because
Sure. Well, you know it's him cutting you off, not me. Well, you don't know whether Wally sat down across from the table with Andre and asked him all of those questions and got all of the information for the answers. Do you, ma'am?
No, I do not know that.
And you indicated that the only place that James Timothy Norman appears is where Wally is disclosing information about him, right?
Correct.
Or there is a signature or purports to be Tim Norman's signature, right?
Correct.
But you don't even know if Tim ever signed that, do you?
We rely on our agents to verify the signatures on the applications that the applicant is the applicant insured. And if there is an owner, that the owner's signature is true and in fact.
Okay, that wasn't my question. You don't know whether Tim Norman signed the document or not, do you, ma'am?
I wasn't there, so I can't say that I know for 100% sure.
And you don't know whether Andre Montgomery signed the document or not, do you, ma'am?
No.
And one of the things your company did was, after it was fully disclosed that Tim was the uncle, that, as you said, caused your company to have some red flags, right?
Well, it was disclosed on the application. It was no after it was disclosed. It was disclosed right up front on the application.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was to your whole company. It was told to them that Tim Norman is the uncle of Andre Montgomery.
Correct.
That wasn't hidden, was it?
No.
And because it wasn't hidden, it caused your company to follow up. Is that right?
Yes.
And because of the uncle relationship, your company made a decision not to proceed. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you never got to the step where you would sit down and look at the application and analyze the answers, because you never got there. You made a decision you weren't going to go forward because of the relationship between the two parties. Is that correct?
That's correct. Except we asked questions and we gave the opportunity for that to be explained, and it never was.
Sure. What you did was it was fully disclosed that he is the uncle?
Uh-huh.
It raised a red flag. You asked some questions, and because of what you did or didn't get back, you decided we are not going forward. Is that correct?
Correct.
And because you made that decision, nobody ever sat down and went through all of those answers that were purportedly given by Andre Montgomery to figure out if this was a company. This was a policy your company wanted to write. Is that correct, ma'am?
We never got that far because we never resolved the bigger question in our minds to start.
Yeah, that's my point. You never got to the point where you would look at his answers and decide whether they are true or false, or whether they raise other issues, right?
We took it at face value that they were correct.
I understand. And then if you had found out, if you had gone further, which he didn't, but if he did, if he had gone further, if you found out an answer was incorrect or false, it may have caused you not to write the policy, but it may have caused you to write the policy. This is like, what had happened was, that's a what had happened was statement. Right, ma'am?
It depends on what the answers were.
Correct. And you never got there to decide which answers were true and whether you would use it as a basis of not going forward or not.
That's correct.
You never got that point.
That's correct.
All right. And one of the things that you did do is you called up at some point, according to those notes, somebody at your company contacts that guy, indicating Tim Norman, right?
They were supposed to be talking to Mr. Montgomery.
Didn't you just read a note where you called Mr. Tim Norman and he said he is at school, call back after 3 o'clock? Didn't you just go through that?
Oh, that was the previous one. Yes.
Yeah. So we are all on the same page. Someone from your company, after having some concerns and this uncle relationship, placed a call to Tim Norman, right?
They placed the phone call to the number of the insurer, and that was on the application.
Yeah, and that person says, "I'm Tim Norman. Andre Montgomery is not here," right, ma'am?
Correct.
Because he got caught up.
Oh,
He's like, "Oh Lord, I don't know what to do. He's not here." Oh Lord, I didn't know they were gonna call his number. They're not here. He's not here. And he says he's at school, right?
Correct.
Did you know that Mr. Montgomery was in music school on that date?
No.
Did you know he usually got done around about 3 o'clock, just as Mr. Norman said?
No.
Did your company call back and talk to Andre after he told you that?
Yes.
And you talked to him?
We presume we were talking to him, yes.
And you have no factual basis that was someone other than Andre Montgomery, do you, ma'am?
No.
So this is interesting. I don't recall them playing this part of the tape. I'm not sure if that interview was ever recorded. However, we do know that there was a text message exchange between Wael Yagnam and Tim Norman when they were plotting about this phone call having to be made to one of the insurance companies. But I do know that I don't recall them playing the audio of this, but I do recall them playing audio of Tim calling in trying to see where that money was.
He didn't try to disguise his voice.
Right, exactly. And I wanted to there was a couple chat questions. I didn't want to go too deep and forget. No, I'll wait on because I can do that at the end. Nothing further.
Any other questions of the witness?
Ms. Collins, is the starting point of your process of evaluating the application that Andre Montgomery knows that it's happening and he has authorized it?
Absolutely.
And if you learned that was false, would that affect what happened next?
Yes.
No further questions. You did great. We knew it was him disguising his voice.
Any other questions?
Nothing further based on that, Your Honor.
Because nothing stuck.
May this
That
witness be finally excused.
That was shady. Nothing further based on that. Yes, Your Honor.
You can step down, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your Honor, another witness?
I was going to go ahead and break for lunch, ladies and gentlemen. This is as good a time as any for us to take a break for lunch. I want to say a few things to you about the lunch break. Again, we did get an assortment of sandwiches that I think are on their way. I thought they were here at least, so that they're on their way for you. Hopefully, one of those will satisfy what you are interested in. I understand you may want to go outside. I just want to tell you, particularly around the lunch hour, there are people in the courthouse who may be talking about this case or some other case. It is very important that you avoid any contact with them. Don't be around them. Now, again, as I told you, and I read you that long instruction, it is very important that any decision you make in this case be solely upon the evidence and witness you hear in this courtroom, not something that you hear outside the courtroom. So, again, just avoid anybody who might be talking about the case. We'll have those for you back there. Hopefully, we're going to have some drinks for you as well. I want to remind you of what I'll tell you at each recess or adjournment of the court. Keep an open mind about the case until it is finally given to you to decide. Again, don't talk to anyone about the case in any manner, whether by word of mouth, by internet, by blog, by anything. Underline. You just can't talk to anybody about the case until it is finally given to you to decide. Don't do any independent research of any kind into any of these issues. We will be temporarily recessed until 1:30. Now, if you leave your notebooks there on the chair, we will be in recess.
So at 12:10 p.m., the proceedings stood in temporary recess. And I guess, did he interrupt? Okay, the court.
Counsel, again, we are here on the record outside the hearing of the jury. We made a record here at the sidebar with regard to financial information as it relates to Mr. Norman. Counsel, you asked to make an offer of proof.
Let me explain what's happening here. So what has occurred here is the court is on recess officially. The jury has left out of the courtroom, and Judge Ross is now just having this conversation with the attorneys. Most likely the public has also left the courtroom, and they're just talking amongst themselves in this moment. Okay, continue.
Interestingly, after I indicated that financial information wasn't relevant, you continue to ask questions about whether or not Mr. Norman withdrew hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the Sweetie Pie's restaurant. In any event, if you want to make some offer of proof as it relates to that, I'll give you an opportunity to do that.
Sure, Judge. Our offer of proof, if the witness was allowed to testify, we would have established that in the calendar year of 2017, that 2 additional Sweetie Pies were open in the Houston area. That one was open at the St. Louis airport, and that also a hamburger haven. It's really heaven. They got Haven here. Or the hamburger restaurant also opened at that time. These were under the ownership of Mr. Norman and the control of him. Now that's a lie, because Hamburger Heaven was Miss Robbie's restaurant.
Was Sweet Guys.
Yeah, but they had different ownership of some of those restaurants.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
He's so stupid.
Tim's attorney would purposefully, or sometimes he was just not well informed, but other times he would purposefully tell lies like this to make Tim look better, and knowing that no one was the wiser except for, super fans like me. And I'm like, that ain't right. That ain't true. So this had to be one of those moments. So he's bringing up Hamburger Heaven, and he even got the name wrong, obviously. But Tim wasn't even in St. Louis when that restaurant was open. That was all Miss Robbie. But anyway, so he says these were under the ownership of Mr. Norman and the control of him. That's a lie. And he would have received financial benefits. We would have also established, Your Honor, that in or about the time period of 2018, if the witness were allowed to testify, that the other business Mr. Norman opened and would receive financial proceeds from was a 48-foot food truck. Your Honor, we would further introduce evidence that in 2019 that Mr. Norman opened and would have received a financial benefit from 2 Sweetie Pie's restaurants located in Jackson, Mississippi.
Go ahead, Miss Carol.
Your Honor, it is lost on the government how Mr. Norman's financial position in 2017 or 2019 has any bearing on the case when the homicide occurred in March of 2016.
Mic drop.
The fact that he later opened restaurants that may or may not have generated income does not seem relevant to the case where the policy applied for in 2014 and the murder occurred in 2016.
Now, again, the issue in this case is whether or not fraudulent insurance applications were submitted.
Boom.
Whether or not Mr. Norman participated in those. Whether or not he sought the insurance proceeds from a fraudulently submitted and issued insurance policy. And I indicated at the sidebar that I thought that Mr. Norman's financial conditions was of limited relevance. I still believe it is of limited relevance. What you are talking about is the opening of a number of different restaurants and other things. First of all, the witness who was being asked, it is entirely unclear that he would have any way of knowing that. It is also unclear to the court how, whether or not those restaurants were open, what Mr. Norman's interest would have been. None of that appears relevant. Actual financial income of Mr. Norman during the relevant time period might have some relevance, but that's not what the offer of proof that you have just represented to the court has anything to do with. Just you are talking about opening of certain restaurants and other businesses that you are indicating that you believe that Mr. Norman had an interest in. That evidence is not relevant. It is admissible. Again, his financial condition during a particular relevant period may have some relevance, but the offer of proof that you have indicated it is just not relevant. The court will sustain the objection, as I indicated at the sidebar, and with that, we will go ahead and take a break for lunch. I'll see everyone at 1:30. That will conclude the record.
I'm not arguing with your ruling, but you indicated that you believe the witness might not have had personal knowledge. I just wanted to make the record complete that the individual began to answer my questions about the opening of the restaurants in 2017. And if the court has any concerns that he doesn't have personal knowledge, I'd ask if we voir dire him outside of the presence of the jury so the record is clear that he would be able to answer those questions. There is no unclarity for review.
You had a full opportunity to examine the witness. There was no way he had personal knowledge. You were asking about this investigation. And in any event, it is just. It is the testimony and evidence is not relevant for the reasons that I have stated. So for that reason, it is just not relevant. So that will conclude the record. We'll be in temporary recess until 1:30.
He said what he said.
Get out my court.
Right. He like, I said what I said. We taking
Boom.
recess. Why does it feel like we missing? What testimony was that about?
Earlier, it happened earlier when we first started the transcripts. He brought that up. And he was like, listen, no, it has nothing to do with the case.
Okay. Because I'm like,
started.
I do know that there's testimony that some of that is it. He finds his way in it, but I didn't think we had got to it already. Okay.
Oh, we have a Doug Parrott coming up.
Yeah. We ain't even got to the good stuff yet, in my opinion. I just feel like this was necessary to understand the background.
Another insurance carrier?
Right. So at 12:16 p.m., the proceedings stood in temporary recess and we resumed at 1:38 p.m. The proceedings resumed in open court.
Counsel.
Doug Parrott.
Vell, who's doing Doug Parrott?
I don't know. It ain't me.
I can't be Doug Parrott because I'm still Miss Carrot.
Do you want me to read Doug?
Yeah, that'll have to be
Sure.
Margin then, because I think.
All right, Margin, you up? You ready?
Counsel,
Yes, ma'am.
call your next witness.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Parrott, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You want a cracker? No. Okay, so please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Doug Parrott.
And where do you work, Mr. Parrott?
Forrester Financial.
Oh, I remember Forrester's. I remember hearing about that. What is that?
Forrester Financial is a life insurance carrier both in the U.S. and Canada.
Is there any difference between the Forrester's life insurance company and sort of other typical life insurance companies?
Forresters, we are set up a little bit different. We are a financial life insurance company, which means that in lieu of paying taxes to states for the businesses that we do, we're able to, through a 501c organization, we're able to hold that money back and return that money to our members, which are policyholders.
Does anything about your status as sort of fraternal order, does that change anything about your underwriting guidelines?
No, our beneficiary requirement requires us to consider family or community for a beneficiary. So sometimes our family definition perhaps is a little bit extended than other carriers. Certain carriers I have worked for, but that's really the only difference.
So when you say the family definition is a little more expanded than in other companies, would Foresters issue a policy to an uncle or a nephew, for example?
On Depending on the circumstances and the contract and the purpose and so forth, it is possible.
Are you familiar with the life insurance application that Foresters issued to James Timothy Camel Hips Norman for the life of Andre Montgomery?
I am.
Please pull up 17A, page 2.
And again, just for the record, this is Exhibit 17A.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Parrott, is this that life insurance application that you just mentioned?
This is, sorry,
Looking at the proposed insured, who is listed there?
Andre L. Montgomery.
And the street address of Mr. Montgomery, Sweetie Pies?
4270 Manchester Boulevard in St. Louis.
And what's the occupation listed for Mr. Montgomery?
It indicated he's a music producer.
How about the income and net worth for Mr. Montgomery apparently has?
28,000 in the last financial year, and then 200,000 his net worth on a $28,000 a year.
Oh, wow. That's a big jump for frying chicken. So please go down to the beneficiary section, Mr. Parrott. Who is the beneficiary on the Andre Montgomery life insurance policy?
James Timothy Norman.
What relationship does it list for Mr. AKA Camel Hips Norman to Mr. Montgomery?
In the beneficiary section, it is indicated his uncle.
And the percentage there?
100%.
What does that mean?
That means if debt should occur and debt was deemed to be payable, or the debt benefit was deemed to be payable, that it would be payable at 100% to Mr. Norman.
Could we please go to page 11? Mr. Parrott, what is the amount of the face amount of the insurance policy that Mr. Norman had on Mr. Montgomery?
The base face amount is 200,000.
Wow, that's how much they said he made a year. And looking down here at the rider section, is there a rider on this life insurance policy on Andre?
Yes, there is actually two riders: an accidental death benefit rider for 200,000 and a 10-year term rider for 50,000.
And what is an accidental death rider?
An accidental death rider is a rider that, in terms of an accident that a defined accident death within the contract, an additional $200,000 could be paid.
Could homicide qualify as an accidental death that would trigger that additional 200,000?
It could, under certain circumstances, yes.
In the section here that says term, what is the amount of that?
The term rider is 50,000.
What is the period of the term?
That's 10 years term.
What does that mean? What is a 10-year term rider?
It means the contract stipulates that the death benefit is eligible for a period of 10 years, and then after 10 years, it expires.
So then, in order for Mr. Norman to get this additional 50,000, would Andre Montgomery have to die within 10 years of the time the policy is issued?
That is correct.
So if Andre Montgomery died of a qualifying homicide within 10 years of the date of this policy, how much money does Mr. Norman get?
$450,000.
Please go to page 5, 7, and 18, please. Mr. Parrott, the height and weight listed there. Whose height and weight is that supposedly?
These questions pertain to the response to the proposed insured. So that would be the height and the weight of Mr. Montgomery.
And the date you last consulted a physician, what's listed there?
He saw a physician at the People's Health Clinic on sometime in December 2013 for a regular checkup. There was no indication of any adverse results.
Please go to page 7, the payer section. Mr. Parrott, who is paying the premiums on this policy?
The owner, Mr. Norman.
And is that bank account then the bank account out of which the premiums are paid?
That is correct.
Did this policy issue?
The policy was approved.
And were those premiums in fact paid on the policy?
Correct, they were.
Did Forrester care whether Andre Montgomery knew that James Timothy Norman had a $450,000 life insurance policy on him?
Objection, foundation.
The objection is sustained.
Mr. Parrott, does Forrester require the authorization of the proposed insured before a policy can issue?
We do.
So who in this case would have to have authorized this policy in order for Forrester to approve it?
Mr. Montgomery.
And if Forrester were to learn that Mr. Montgomery had not authorized the policy, what effect would that have?
We would not have approved the contract. We would have canceled it and declined it.
Does Forrester rely on the truth of the statements in the application when it decides whether to issue the policy?
Absolutely.
Please go to page 12, including the header. Please, Mr. Parrott, did this policy issue?
It did.
And what is this letter here?
The letter is a welcome letter that we put each policy certificate that goes to the proposed insured and the owner.
So that letter was sent to Mr. Norman?
This was sent to Mr. Norman as the owner, correct?
If you know, in March 2016, was this life insurance policy on Andre Montgomery in place?
March of 2016. Yes, it was.
So if Andre Montgomery had died at that time, who would have gotten the money from this policy?
Mr. Norman.
No further questions.
Mr. Leonard?
This BS.
Sir, were you with Forrester's at the time this policy or this application was submitted?
I was for about 60 days.
Did you have anything to do with the review of this application?
I did not.
Not one thing, right? Correct?
Correct.
Who did?
An underwriter within our organization. I don't know who.
Did you ever find out?
Not for the purpose of this proceedings, no.
Did you ever find out how many seconds, minutes, or hours that this person spent reviewing the materials that were submitted to your company?
No.
When he said that in real life, I was like, he is on some BS. How many seconds? You never talked to that individual about what he did or didn't do.
Nope.
Or why he did it.
Nope.
And let's kind of start backwards. Were you asked about the concept of authorization? Do you remember that question?
I do.
And would authorization, as you just put it, would that be appropriate if Andre Montgomery had sat down at a table with Wally Yagnam and answered all of the questions on the application? Would that be authorization?
As long as he answered the questions of the application and signed the application and understood that he was writing, then that would be authorization.
And you have no idea, sir, whether Andre Montgomery sat down at a table with Wally and did that or not.
We didn't at the time of the underwriting, but we certainly substantially found out he was not there.
Sir, I'll strike to strike that first of all. Can I be heard at sidebar?
Approach the sidebar.
He like, how dare you? So remember, that's when the static sound comes on. So let me take it down.
He's so sick of him.
Vell? Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Vell?
Yep.
Hold
I
on.
need to take a short break.
Oh, okay. All right. We're gonna play a commercial and give our cast a minute for a break. Okay, let me pull it down. I'm gonna pull you down. There you go. Oh, I can actually do a little commentary because I did want to answer some questions as well. So let me let everyone take a break, and we'll be back. I'm gonna let them take a break, and when Robert is back, we'll start again. We're actually only going for like another 30. The plan is once this is done, I'm hoping within 30 minutes we'll be wrapping up because I got Grubhub on the way. I had already scheduled it. It's dinner time. But the questions that I saw or comments that I saw here. I love to, I like to operate in facts. So I was like, let me give some clarity to some of these. Purposeful Creation was saying, I really want to know if the whole family should have been in fear that they could have been next. So I've seen this sort of comment really since almost the beginning, where people have speculated that Miss Robbie was next on his list and Charles might be on the list, as far as, Tim planning to do these same things. Supposedly he had an $1 million insurance policy out on his mom. What I have not heard, did not hear it in the trial, have not heard it anywhere else, is actual proof that he even had an insurance policy out on his mom. However, if he did, it would make total sense because they were business partners. You should, if you don't, and you are in business, you should have a life insurance policy out on your business partner, because if they do pass away, it does affect your ability for earning revenue, etc. Like whatever they cover, whatever they did with the business, you lose that, and it takes you time to regroup if you ever do. So that totally makes sense. So even if he had an insurance policy out on his mom, don't mean he was planning to take her life. The other thing is about the other people, Charles, and I think I saw somebody, oh yeah, it was Purposeful, saying, true, because I know this had to shake up Charles and Mo, meaning Monique. There has been no evidence, no real proof. Now there's been, fodder on social media of people saying these things about Charles having a policy and all these other him maybe doing that, planning to do that to Charles. There's been absolutely no proof of it. I honestly think it started from speculation of, ooh, I wonder if he was going to do Charles next, or people saying, I bet he was doing Charles next. And then by the next person, it's telephone. The next person is, ooh, he was about to do Charles next. I heard he had an insurance policy out, or, all of that. And it just grows from there because there's been literally no proof of that. No facts on that. And then the other thing that I've been hearing, and I see it in my comments, even under the Michelle Griggs interview, the comments about Tim's brother, who was killed when Tim, I think he was about 14 years old, 13 or 14 years, maybe even younger, between 12 and 14, I think, years old, Tim's brother was killed. There's still people running with the narrative that Tim probably has something to do with his brother's death. They are commenting that under the video interview with Michelle Griggs, where she literally explains what happened to Tim's brother, who was killed in California by 3 guys, and they know who they were. They know the situation. His father was Dre's father had went over there he left a ring or something. He went over there to get claim to it. He got into it with a lady who was there. The lady's brothers came out and then jumped him, and they stabbed him, etc. And he, tried to get away, ran down the street, and he collapsed down the street. There's a whole story. These people were literally arrested, literally served jail time, were convicted and served jail time, and there will still be people saying that Tim probably had something to do with it when Tim was all of just coming out of puberty when it happened, and across the country. Because again, his brother was killed in California. Tim was residing as a teenager, a young teenager, I ain't talking about 19, 20, as a pubescent teenager in St. Louis with his mama. And well, his mama was on the road. I was about to say in them streets, but I can't say that. I ain't trying to get no defamation lawsuit. His mama was on the road, so he was being taken care of by the other, family members. Tim had nothing to do with his brother's death. And I'm like, the people who comment stuff like that, and I'm like, you literally have the man's girlfriend at the time, his girlfriend, Michelle Griggs, / the mother of his child, telling you what happened, telling you she fought for justice for those people to get arrested, and they told her what happened. She even talked about I think all 3 of them are dead now. One died in prison. I think one died right after prison. Something happened to the other. I can't remember. All of this, and they'll still say Tim has something to do. And I understand Tim is an evil monster. Yes, he is. I ain't never going to defend him from being an evil monster. That ain't what I'm saying. But what I am saying is let's not add more to the evil monster. He got enough by himself. He has literally actually did enough that is truthful by himself that we ain't got to add no sauce, no we ain't got to salt bait it. No salt bay, salt bay rather. We ain't got to do that. We ain't got to sprinkle nothing else on it. Nothing. It's good. It's seasoned with a lot of evilness all by itself. So that's not true. Tim didn't do nothing didn't have nothing to do with his brother's death. And we don't have any proof about these other alleged soon-to-be victims that would have been Miss Robbie and Charles and Monique and all that. That's just fodder. It's literally no proof. Wasn't ever brought up in court. None of that, because it ain't true. But anyway, I wanted to address that, and it is nothing to, about whoever commented. I like to address it every time because what I have learned about being in this space as a creator and all of that stuff with a YouTuber is that I have to be repetitive because these little bits and pieces they take flight. They take flight and they just gone. So let me see. Oh, and this last one, yes, Mr. Leonard is known for cutting them off. He is very combative, but again, his goal was to just poke holes in any little thing that he can. He's sitting there like Attorney Carroll said that is it Gwendolyn Carroll? Oh, this is Angie Danis and Gwendolyn Carroll. Attorney Gwendolyn Carroll saying, why is he trying to bring up the money that Tim made years after Andre was killed? That don't mean a hell of beans. He got the insurance policy when he obviously wanted that money. Years later, it don't make no sense. But that's his goal, just to smoke and mirrors. So you'll see, we just getting started with the smoke and mirrors. This was like the beginning of it. So, all right, we got everyone in the background. Once we're done, once Mr. Leonard is done torturing this witness, then we're going to call it an evening, and then we'll be back next week with our next. I think we may have to, I'll see if everyone's available. Maybe we can squeeze in 2 of these next week because Terica is coming up, but we got to get through the insurance people. After the insurance people, Terica comes up, and I'm excited to get to that for y'all. Okay, so I'm bringing everybody back up. Margin and Robert and Precious, Mocha. Oh, I'm already up. Okay, and myself, and there we go. It worked out. All right. Whatever. I'll leave off. Oh, what were we approaching sidebar?
I think Robert is on page line 17.
Okay. All right. We'll continue with that, Robert.
Approach the sidebar.
Robert, tired of you.
So the proceedings were held at sidebar. So again, that's, when we have a little white noise playing, we don't hear what they're saying as the public, but the stenographer, she's getting everything. It was, this is me. It wasn't responsive to the question. And how does he have any knowledge that Andre wasn't sitting at the table?
You asked the question now. I think it was responsive. I think you can inquire further.
Sure.
But I think it was responsive. So the request to strike is going to be denied. Now, again, I think you can inquire further.
Okay. So then proceedings resume in open court.
Counsel, you may proceed.
Did the people sitting here at this table, did they tell you Andre did not meet with Mr. Wally Yagnam?
No, we learned that through our claims investigation.
So somebody was at the meeting from claims and figured out that Andre Montgomery didn't sit down at the table with Wally and have an interview?
Through our subsequent claim investigation, correct.
Who figured out that Wally did not sit down at the table with Andre and fill out the application, identify that person for me?
Mr. Sullivan will be here tomorrow.
Okay. And he was able to figure out from talking to who that Andre wasn't there.
I can't tell you that. I don't know.
You didn't look into it at all before you came here to testify?
No, sir.
Okay, so your testimony is that Andre Montgomery never met with Wally Yagnam. Is that your
That's
testimony?
correct.
And so Wally Yagnam never had a meeting with Andre Montgomery and Tim Norman at Tim's apartment to go over the application. Is that your testimony?
My testimony is Andre Montgomery was not at the meeting regarding the completion of the insurance application.
Just to make sure you answer my question. So there was no meeting at Tim Norman's apartment where Tim was there, Andre was there, and Wally was there. Is that your testimony?
Objection.
The objection will be overruled. You can answer, sir.
I'm not aware of a specific of a meeting. We were only aware that Andre Montgomery was not involved.
Sure. I just want you to answer the question, okay? Is it your testimony to the jury that Andre Montgomery never attended a meeting at Tim Norman's apartment with Andre Montgomery, Wally Yagnam, and Tim Norman present? Is that your testimony?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. You weren't suggesting that you did know a couple. You were. Okay. So you weren't suggesting that you did know a couple minutes ago, were you?
No, I never suggested that I knew of any meeting.
Okay, I thought so. Now, this particular application, who was it that physically or electronically submitted it to your company?
The agent of record, Mr. Yagnam.
Not Tim Norman, right, sir?
Correct.
Not Andre Montgomery.
That's correct.
Tim Norman wouldn't have ever been allowed to submit it to your company because he wasn't a licensed insurance agent in the state of Missouri, right?
Correct.
Mr. Yagnam had a relationship with your company, didn't he?
He was a contracted producer for us, yes.
Just try to break that down. I don't know insurance jargon. Does that mean he was somebody that could submit insurance applications to your company?
He can.
And how many did he submit over the years?
I don't know, sir.
How many did he submit over 2016?
I don't know that, sir.
How many of the ones that Wally submitted to your company did your company accept?
I don't know that, sir.
How many did they? He's such an asshole. How many did they deny?
I don't know that, sir.
Did they accept every single one he put in front of your company?
I don't know that, sir.
Did you ever? It's your tone to it, Storm, y'all.
I
mean,
love
you're
it.
good. You're good. It's just funny. Did you ever look into any of those issues?
No, sir.
Now, when it was submitted to your company, I'm sorry, was it through a computer or a mail or a fax?
It would have been a handwritten application. So it would have either come by way of mail, but probably through a secure document system that we have that's electronic. But it is received by us, and then we image it and scan it and then index it.
So whatever we call that, that would have been done by Mr. Yagnam?
That's correct.
And then who is the person at your company that received it?
The scanning and indexing area that would have set up the file for new businesses to do their work. And then of that, new businesses would have handed it off to the underwriting.
And what actually happened is that it went straight through, so to speak, right?
Correct. There are certain cases that it is allowed to happen.
This was one of them?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Correct.
It was your company's decision to just let this go right through, right?
Correct. Based on the information we had on the application, based on what we presume to be the facts of the application, it was allowed to go straight through.
Just like so many others, right?
We have many applications where there is the situation, correct?
And so because you were just whisked it right through, no physical exam was ever even required, was it?
No physical exam was required based on the product and the underwriting of the particular product. That was a non.
So the simple answer to my question that no physical exam required, is that correct? Right, sir?
That's correct. There is no exam.
Likewise, no lab report test of any part were required, right?
That's correct.
No medical records of any kind were required by your company, right?
That's correct.
None of the questions on the application, 0, required any follow-up by your company, right?
That's correct.
Now, we had no reason to follow up.
Sorry. And we had no reason to follow up. Sorry.
You didn't do it, did you?
We didn't follow up. No.
Because you put it through this straight through system, right?
Correct. And there was no reason to check anything.
And if any flags had been raised, you don't know what your company would have done. You don't know if they would have issued the policy. You don't know if they wouldn't have issued the policy. That is all speculations, isn't it, sir?
Correct. Depending on what flags would have come up.
And if your company had, in fact, discovered a false answer, then what would you have done? This is, instead of whisking it through, you then would have put it in a manual process, right?
Correct.
And if it went into a manual process, you don't know if your company would have accepted the application or not, right?
That's not right. That's not true. If we found out that Mr. Montgomery was not part of the application, we would have stopped it right there.
Here's my question. With all of those different questions on the app, as you sit here today, you can't tell us which question would have resulted in a denial back to them and which ones wouldn't have. Can you, sir?
If we establish the fact that he was not part of the application.
And you still can't establish that because we already talked about that, because you don't know if he was at the meeting or not, right?
You are referencing a meeting, and I am referencing the fact that Andre Montgomery was not involved.
So let me get this straight. When you said Mr. Montgomery was not involved, that must mean he didn't attend any meeting with Wally, right?
That's logical. But we are aware that he was not a party to this application.
And we have already discussed that, right?
Correct.
Some guy told you that Andre never attended a meeting, right?
Again, I have no reference to the meeting, but he was not party to this application.
Correct. But you are telling me he wasn't a party because he didn't know about it? He didn't attend any meetings? And your basis for that is some guy at your company told you that, right?
Based on the constatable claim review, that's the information we received back.
Now, this thing where it was clearly identified to your company that Tim was the uncle, right?
Correct.
No secret about that, correct?
Correct.
And despite the fact that an application was submitted to your company saying that Tim was the uncle of Andre Montgomery, your company went ahead and did it.
Correct. We also were aware of it at the time.
Answer the question, sir. Was there some document in writing at your company back in those days that said in writing, hey, if you are the owner and you are the uncle, you can't have a policy on a beneficiary or an insured?
That you can't.
That question wasn't very good. Back in those days at your company, was there something in writing that said, hey, if you are the uncle, you can't be the owner of a policy for your nephew? Did you have a written document that said that?
No.
There was no prohibition like that, prohibition like that at all, was there?
No.
Now the application had information about how much Andre Montgomery was earning at that time, right?
Correct.
And you don't know who provided that.
We assumed Andre Montgomery did. We presumed he did.
Did he or did he not? You just told me he was not a part of the process.
The application was submitted under the presumption that Mr. Montgomery complete the questions to the answers, completed, signed the application. Subsequently, we learned that he was not party of that application and that those answers were provided by someone else.
We have talked already about that. So your theory that someone else says Andre wasn't there, but the $28,000 figure, did Wally come up with that?
I have no idea.
Did Tim Norman come up with that?
I have no idea.
Who did?
I don't know.
Okay, the fact that there was in any prior applications on Andre, did that cause your company not to go forward?
We didn't have any knowledge of any prior applications.
Did you check?
Within our system, yes, we checked.
Whether foresters had any applications?
There was nothing indicated on him that he might have any prior applications.
Sure. And so did you do anything to see if he had applications with other companies, sir?
That was the MIB check would provide.
And you didn't find any?
Correct.
So you knew about that issue? You looked into it? Did all you could? And you went and had an issue with the policy, right?
What's the issue? You said we looked into the issue.
Whether there was another policy or not, sir.
Correct. There is no record of any other policies.
Because this was the first one ever on Andre Montgomery, wasn't it?
It appears to be so.
Now, did you ever figure out, sir, how much Andre Montgomery was getting paid in his jobs he held in 2015 or 2014 or 2016?
No, we didn't. It wasn't required.
You never looked into it, right?
Correct.
And you wouldn't look into it anyway because it wasn't required, correct?
Correct.
And this whole thing about Andre having his address as the same address as Sweetie Pie's, did your company look into that?
We were unaware of the Sweetie Pies.
Did you look into what the address was that was provided by Mr. Yagnam on the application to try to figure out what it was?
We do an identity check on the front of every application, and the identity came back as being acceptable. So no, there is no further review.
Okay, so the simple answer to my question is no. You did not try to figure out if the address listed was Sweetie Pie's or not, did you, sir?
No.
And if it had been looked into it and found out it was Sweetie Pie's, you can't say whether the company would have accepted or rejected the policy, right, sir?
Sir, I don't know what Sweetie Pie is, so I can't answer to that question.
You never heard of it?
Never heard of it.
Okay, you might want to give it a try. It is pretty good chicken.
You're
with
never
that,
ate there
he did
either.
say that. He is so corny. He did say that.
I see it.
With regards to the issue of Andre being a smoker, you don't know if he was or not, right?
The application indicated that, I believe, that he was not a smoker.
I'm talking real life. You don't know if he was a smoker or not, right?
No.
Is there something on the app that says this is what makes you a smoker? You have to have this many cigarettes, or have this many cigarettes that often, anything like that?
We have a smoking questionnaire that asks about the use of tobacco.
Did you send a smoking questionnaire to Andre Montgomery?
That is part of the application.
There was a smoking questionnaire?
A smoking question.
Okay, there was a question whether you were a smoker. That wasn't my question. My question was, anywhere on that app, does it define what a smoker is?
No, it indicates, it asks the question of whether they use tobacco or not.
You have answered my question. No, there is no explanation for what makes one a smoker. Is that correct, sir?
If he could let the witness finish the answer.
That's fine. Pose a question, counsel.
Sure. Just so we are on the same page, sir.
Jesus.
I know there is a question that asks yes or no.
Counsel, this is all repetitive.
Thank
Pose
you.
a new question.
This is when Judge Ross was getting irritated by me.
We all
by
get
Leonard, 'cause
irritated.
He was acting up. He was feeling himself. The question is there some other place on the application where it explains what qualifies one smoker or not, one as a smoker or not?
No, our question is sufficient.
And then in terms of drug use, is there a question on the application that asks about illegal drug use?
I believe the application, there is a yes.
I'm sorry?
I say, I believe this application, there is yes.
And if someone indicates that they are, then what your company does is they send out a drug use questionnaire, right?
If they use those drugs.
Yes. Yes?
No, we wouldn't decline the application.
Okay. And you don't know at the time whether Andre Montgomery was a user of illegal drugs that would disqualify him or not, do you, sir?
The application indicates that he wasn't. That's the information that we used.
Now, your company never even gave close to paying this. Now your company never even came close to paying this claim. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, correct?
It is not your understanding, but it is your testimony, right?
Correct. I'm responsible for the underwriting area. The claim area is handled by a different person, but that's been my review, and that's what I believe. Yes.
So what that means is somebody gave your company money in the form of premiums, right?
Somebody.
Correct.
Over a period of time, right?
Correct.
How many months did someone give your company money?
18 months roughly, a little less than that perhaps.
And how much money?
$4,400.
And your company kept every penny of it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you give a penny of it back to Mr. Norman?
The money correctly sits in the hands of the U.S. Marshals.
That answer is no. Did you give the money back to Mr. Norman? Did you?
Counsel, you have to ask a question, not make a statement.
No.
If you will stand there by the microphone, it would be much easier for the witness to hear your question. and perhaps understand it. Thank you.
So this is when I told y'all that Michael Leonard, he acted like he was doing a TED talk. He just be roaming around, and the mic was only at the podium for the attorneys. So that's why it was all this, you know, speak up and all this other stuff. Nothing further.
Any questions of the witness, Ms.
Oh,
Carroll?
wait, hold on. I skipped. I'm sorry. I skipped. Did your company give back Tim Norman the money he paid your company in premiums? Yes or no?
No.
Nothing further.
Any questions of the witness, Ms. Carroll?
Okay, so
You-
we're
Stop
gonna
it here, you said, right?
Yeah, we're gonna stop here for tonight.
Martin got tired of you.
Yeah, right. Oh, Mr. Leonard, he is so
Good job, Margin.
Yeah,
You brought it tonight.
He was so annoying.
very, very, very. Let me see. Oh, that was I'll find it. Well, I'll let you all say your well, first of all, thank our cast for this evening. Another wonderful job. Please put your hand clapping emojis or cheers emojis in the chat to thank them for their dedication, their time, their volunteering, and their great acting skills. And I'm going to let you say your final words as I drop you down, and then I'll get my little commentary and get on out of here. I'm gonna start with Mocha Barbie. Mocha, are you there?
I am.
All right. What you can say whatever you want to say to the people.
I was ready for Mr. Leonard today. Okay.
You were.
He didn't get me in my feels. So I was ready.
You knew what to expect already.
I knew what to expect. That's right. So, but it was fun as always. I love it.
Good. Thank you. And thank you for your great work. And thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate you.
Anytime.
All right. I'm gonna drop you. All right, you too. I'm gonna drop you down. All right, then we're gonna go with Robert, since you're down here in this corner.
You know what? I have found out through the reading of this reenactment how I can have a lot of insurance for a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Marjan.
Right. Right. Be careful of that. Okay, well, thank you for your time. As usual, great work, and I will see you next week. Can you hear me, Robert?
Yes.
Okay, I'll see you next week.
All right, I'll be there.
Right. All right, thank you. And Margin, you asked me a question that I didn't get a chance to answer, but if you want to talk about, I think your YouTube channel, I think you said.
Oh, what did I ask? I forgot what I asked.
If you could promote it, and something else you said, but I was multitasking.
Oh,
but,
the YouTube thing.
I think you said you had a channel, right?
Poe, you talking about Poe on the Go, or no?
No, not other people. Your channel. I thought you were saying you had a channel. Maybe.
I have. Oh, my channel is. I think it's under my name. But no, the people can follow me under my name. But I forgot what I had asked you about. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. But I'll respond to the message and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Is there any closing words for our people? Oh,
thank God we're on Tim. He can't do anything. That man can't do nothing wrong. Right. Sorry. He tried to cheat so many things. He tried to cheat under his mom. And he just so incompetent on so many levels. I mean, you know, that was what, the third or the fourth life insurance that he tried to get, and cheated on every one of them and couldn't even get a life insurance correctly. I mean, I'm glad he didn't get paid out, but it was all, I mean, even at cheating, he wasn't good.
Yeah. And the truth is, the only reason he actually did get this Forrester's policy, this is the only company that let him get a policy. They never paid him though, but they actually allow him to get a policy. But as Mr. Leonard, Attorney Leonard, was pointing out, it looked like they did not vet it in the beginning. Like they had this auto approve process. They probably just trying to make sure they were getting premiums or whatever. And so that's how Tim slipped through. But when Andre actually passed away and he needed to back up the information he had given and provide a death certificate and all these other things, he couldn't do that. And that's why he didn't get the money. But the truth is, had Tim been able to somehow finagle and get that. Well, he was also a person of interest, and he wasn't cleared by the detective, so that was another issue. So he still wasn't gonna get the money, but had he been able to provide the stuff, there's a chance he would have slipped through.
But he could have done things legal. I mean, he could have, if he had done it through his mom's business. I think as a business, you can do, like, my niece works for, like, for companies, you can get life insurance through your company. So he could have done it legally if he wanted to, but he didn't. He did everything illegally on every level. So to me, that's just kind of stupid on his part. But
well, in this case, he actually could not. There was no chance for him to even do it.
There was no way,
because Andre did not work at Sweetie Pies during this time period.
Yeah, but at some point he did, didn't he? He was
but at the time, but all that counts is the time that
the time frame
as of the date of the application. Andre was no longer working at Sweetie Pie, so
yeah,
he couldn't even, and he would have been an employee and not a business partner. So it's a little different. Like if he was, again, Tim could have gotten it on his mama easily, because not only is it his mother, but it's also a business partner. Andre was never a business partner, so he still couldn't have got it that way. Yeah.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and we will talk later. I'm gonna drop you down. And Precious.
Oh, it was a good time per usual. I was in the chat in between scenes. My usual shenanigans.
I appreciate it.
It was fun. It was fun. See y'all next week.
All right. We will see you next week. And then there was a comment. Somebody asked a question. Wow, y'all really was chatting towards the second half of it. Oh, wait, here it is. Is it? Yes, here it is. Good. Oh, also, I put this on the screen so I wouldn't forget. Alice Blessed Child of God has her YouTube channel. She actually has two, because she has the Alice Blessed Child of God channel, and also Accentuate the Positive, right? I think that's the other one. Accentuate the Positive. But anyway, she's doing Black History fun fact videos, and so definitely go over there and subscribe if you haven't. And if you have subscribed, make sure you're actually giving her the views and the likes as well, because that's what helps the channel to grow. And then this comment here, Rachel says, Vell, random question for the interview with Michelle Griggs. Ever Andre Sr. and Tim even close? I know there was a huge age difference. Yes. There was a huge age difference, like I forgot the exact, but it was well over 10 plus years. I want to say 15 plus years. I think it might have been, I think it was 15. Don't quote me on that, but it was a lot of years, at least 10-year age difference. They basically weren't really raised together at all. Because when Tim was a teen, his brother was already out the house and all of that other stuff. So they really weren't really raised together. So they really weren't close. I think if anything, it would have been like, paternal. Oh, 19 years. So Aaron is saying 19. I wanted to say 19 years because I felt like that was in my head, but I didn't want to, because I got so many stories and all this stuff in my head. Sometimes I confuse facts. So yes, 19-year age difference. So by the time Tim was born, his brother was out of there. So yeah, they did not have that kind of relationship. Another reason why it's kind of like, if people would look into facts before just spreading gossip, they would already know that ain't making no sense. His brother is 19 years older. Why would he be putting out a hit on his brother? Like, what would even be the point? They didn't even have a relationship like that. So but yeah, I thank all of you for viewing tonight. Please make sure you are hitting that like button. It looked like we're decent with the likes, but if you haven't, please hit that like button. If you're watching the replay, please remember to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Much more to come. Not only are we going to continue with this, of course, but we do have other content, true crime content coming your way over here. So with that, I'm gonna send you all out with a commercial, not a commercial, the end trailer, end screen. And with that, until next time, make sure to take care and be blessed.